Jennifer Lourie, and I'm here today with BelaKharma, and she's going to be interviewing me about my book in my apartment for her podcast, which is called Unpacking with BelaKharma, and it can be found at BelaKharma.com.
Yes. Thank you, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks for coming.
Welcome to Unpacking with BelaKharma. We have a weekly podcast. We interview different women with different, backgrounds, careers, interests. Sometimes, yesterday I interviewed an artist, and that'll be coming out later in the week. And just interesting
You're
women.
recording, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm recording. I'm also recording this for our podcast.
Okay.
And I'm here with Jennifer because she wrote this great book, which I have read, and I have all these notes in it because I loved so many things about this book.
Oh, I'm so happy.
So I'm going to start with, I know it's in here, but I wanted to ask, why did you decide to write this book? I know that's I know it's a big question, but it's a good place to start. It's like, what made you decide that you were going to write this book?
Well, it wasn't really a decision, it just happened. So it all started, it's kind of a spoiler alert,
okay.
But the book all started with a love letter. I was seeing this guy, I was completely enthralled by him, did not work out. He ended things, but he did it in a way that made me like him even more because he was very direct and straightforward and honest, and he left no room for confusion. And it just totally ended, but we stayed friends, just like Facebook friends.
Nathan?
This is Nathan. And I didn't expect to see him again, but 15 months after we stopped seeing each other, out of the blue, we ended up seeing each other one night. And I just adored this man so much that 5 days later, even though I knew nothing had changed between us, I was so happy that I had seen him. Like, I was still on such a high from seeing him that I sat down to write a love letter, not to send him, but just to get out my feelings.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that I was sitting in the bathroom stall at work writing it on my phone.
Oh, you were typing with your, oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
But then I read it and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. This is the beginning of a book. And people have been telling me for a long time, you've got to write a book because of all my roommate situation and all my travels. And so I was like, wow, this is the beginning of the book. And so I went home from work and I just worked on it nonstop. I wrote it on the metro on my phone, at home after work, at lunch during work, maybe a little during work because I didn't have too much work to do at the time. I wrote that thing nonstop for 23 days, no matter where I was. If I was in a waiting room waiting for the dentist, I was writing.
You were writing, wow.
And after 23 days, I finished my first draft.
23 days.
Yep.
That's amazing. Now, did you have the blog before you had?
No.
So, okay, the blog came after
Yes.
you did the book. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure which came first.
Yeah, no, the book came first. I did not consider myself a writer. I didn't plan to be a writer. I had no intention of writing, but it happened, and I was telling all my Facebook friends, like, I'm doing this, and I'm trying to get to 60,000 words, because that is, like, a reasonable amount for a book. And when I got close enough and was almost done, I said, how do you publish a book? So one of my friends told me that there was a writers' conference that was just happening a few weeks later. So I went to this writers' conference, and they told me, well, if you want an agent, then you need 1 million followers.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, great. But they're like, you need to also start writing more so people know that you can write more than one thing. So I started the blog. So that's why that started.
So that's why it started. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I know the whole agent thing because I worked in publishing. And I know that you have to, it's hard to get an agent, but there's so much, self-publishing is great.
Yeah.
So that's what you did.
And it was like everything was aligning. It was like the whole universe aligned for me, because right when I started my blog, I had the story called Desperation, What Would You Do?, which was this very uncomfortable situation, which anyone can read about in my blog, but that really helped the blog take off. Is your phone okay? Okay. That really helped the blog take off, and it got me a lot of readers, and it turned into this 4-part story, which was awesome. And then a few months like after that, I was at this party and I met this woman who was in her 70s, and she was a book designer. And it was so random that I was at this party with this woman who doesn't even live in the area. She's in California. She just happened to be there. And I was like, so I was asking her tons of advice. And she told me, you know, why bother getting an agent? Just do it. If you're ready to publish, just publish.
Just do it, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I need a designer. And I realized you can't just publish, like, you can't just have a Word document. You need, like, someone to design your book. You have to put it in the
format, right.
Yeah, so I didn't work with her for that. That's a different story for my book design. But it was so great to have someone who I thought maybe would be more old school was encouraging me to do some, because she was of her age and how long she was in the publishing industry, that she was encouraging me to just go for it. So I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do.
That's great. Is this you on the cover?
That is me.
I love that
That
picture.
was my best photo from 2016.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I did not intend, I mean, that was in 2016. I wrote my book in 2017, so I did not expect it to be the cover of a book. But once I wrote the book, I was like, that has to be the cover. My parents don't love it. They keep trying to tell me to change it.
Well, nobody knows it's you until now. No.
A lot of people ask me if it's me.
They ask you if it's you.
Yeah.
So is everything, did you change names?
Some of the names are changed.
Some of them. I was wondering if you had, and it's all real, not...
Everything is real. There's a couple, like 2 details in the book that are different because I wanted to protect this person's identity, but the whole story is real. There's nothing, there's just like 2 descriptors that I changed. Yeah.
I loved your whole, the roommate thing.
Yeah.
Because I could never do that. I was thinking, and I know you said it even at one point, that you didn't think you would ever be able to do what you did, having, you know, people... do you still do that now? Or you?
Well, that's a great question. I don't have roommates now, as you can see. It's really interesting. Right at the point where I finally was financially independent enough to not need roommates is the same point in time that nobody responds to my ad anymore. So I just stopped running it. Yeah, there's too much competition with different websites, and I was just using Craigslist, and
you just didn't. Yeah. But what an interesting thing to do, and what a great way to meet people. I mean, I mean, people have to read the book to see, you know, where you got to that point and how it all interacted in your life. Because I was thinking at first that, wow, that would be so hard. All these people in my own space. I love to have my own area. Yeah. But you met a lot of amazing people and you made some good friends.
Well, and also, like I say in the book, I mean, you just do what you have to do. What choice did I have?
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
Like I didn't. I mean, I was just so grateful that this happened to me in a city where it's very transient, and there's always people that need a place to live. I mean, if this had happened to me, you know, in rural Midwest town, I would have been in foreclosure. I mean, it would have been horrible.
Yeah.
So I try to every day just change the narrative so you have a good story to tell.
So you have to know. I mean, I think this is great. I want to talk about other things, but I don't want to give away the whole book of how you got to that point. I mean, I don't know what you want to talk about as because I don't want to give away everything because there's a lot. I mean, it's.
Well, you ask me whatever questions you want, and if I think it's too much, then I won't give it away.
And you were married for a while, and that ended.
Yeah.
And, I want to talk a little bit about, because I know when we think about when we're young, we have a vision of what we're going to do. I mean, you had kind of a vision of how you wanted your life to go. We all do that. I mean, I had the same thing. And you did. You had your vision, and it didn't turn out the way you wanted. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying it didn't turn out, but you're happy. Are you okay? Happy is not the right word. I want to pick a different word. You had some different experiences, and you've gotten to travel all over and do all these amazing things and meet amazing people, even though things were not how you were hoping they would be, or expecting. And it's you know, and I think little girls all have these visions of you know, fairy tale lives. I mean, I had them. I had diaries from when I was little also, and I look through and I talk about having a beautiful house, white picket fence, and kids and everything. And sometimes that's not all it's cracked up to be, and I can attest to that because I went in that direction. So I think it's good to I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think.
Yeah. So as you know, I got married when I was 25, and that didn't. I think I'm too far from. Okay. and that didn't work out. But I learned a lot, and I'm very grateful for the experience that I had. I'm not really in touch with my ex-husband at all anymore, but I wish him the best. I know he wishes me the best. We're just in two different directions, but we don't. We're not friends. But it's interesting what you said about having an image of what you want. So I was like last year, I went to this baby shower, and it was in relatively close to where I live, and it was in this beautiful, beautiful house. And the woman who was throwing the shower for a friend of mine had, you know, she was beautiful, she had 3 daughters, they were all beautiful, her house was beautiful, and I was like, oh my God, like and she was, you know, my age, and her husband was really handsome, and I'm like, why did this happen? Everything that I wanted was like, you know, this woman personified.
Right.
And I was there with my friend Nora, and, you know, we were sitting at the table, and Nora and I are both single, and we were listening to all of these women talk about their kids and their husbands and all this stuff during the baby shower, and I thought it was really interesting because it's not something that's part of my life, but it's, you know, it totally outside of anything I could contribute to as far as the conversation goes. And afterwards, I think Nora was a little bored with that conversation. Sorry, Nora. And after that happened, when we were going home, I was like, oh my God, like, why do they have everything that I wanted, and why don't I have that, and I should just go home and kill myself, and like, why did my life turn out this way? And Nora was like, Jen, your life is so much more interesting.
Yeah, think about it.
And you don't
know how happy they or unhappy they are in their lives. They may not be. They may be dissatisfied. So you don't know.
So
you don't know.
I think so. The whole point of my book is like, what do you do when life doesn't turn out as you hoped or expected, and all of the things that you planned, nothing works out. And I just try to put, like I said earlier, figure out a narrative that makes you happy and makes it a good story. And, you know, so I don't lament anymore that that's not what I have. I try to focus on what I do have.
But you still have so much time to have what you want. I don't think you need to be worried about that.
I'm not really worried.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're worried. I don't think you're worried, but you're young. You're young. I know you might not think that. You might not feel that way. I don't know. I mean, I'm 10 years older than you, but
you look great.
You're 43?
44.
I'm 53.
Oh my gosh.
So
she looks great, doesn't she?
Thank you. So, you know, I think life is there's still so many possibilities. So you always have to think positively. Anyway, that's my attitude. I always try to think everything is going to work out and everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And you have a lot still.
Well, when everything happened, when I was writing this, and I said it was like the whole universe was aligning, it really made me think, okay, just trust in the universe, you know?
Yes.
And so you have to work your ass off, but
you have to trust.
Just trust in the universe.
And that's something that I have only found recently, and you need to like surrender in some ways and be like, okay, I'm going to do things that make me happy, and then go, you know, do what I need to do to, you know, whatever, make a living and have a good life, but also just say, okay, whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens. So, after the end of the book until now, because you finished this in 2017, is there anything that's happened since then that became kind of
let's see.
Is
I don't know if I want to,
or maybe
Well, the good news is I'm still friends with Nathan.
Oh, that's good.
So
Good.
so we're still friends. I don't think I want to give away any of the other epilogues because
and that makes sense.
Just because I can't really give it away without giving away the end of the book. So
no, and that totally makes sense. But Nathan, because Nathan I think probably resonates with a lot of women. We all have a Nathan. I have a Nathan. We all have Nathans, and it's and I guess the guys probably have women that are the same way, but I think it's different because I think in our society anyway, guys are a little more fearful of love and commitment, and you don't know. So I think that it resonated. I mean, it really resonated with me and when I read that recently, because I had a recent Nathan, which I'm not talking about right now. It's I think a lot of women especially for women who read this, they really, the book hits them. It hit me. I mean, I loved reading it, and I loved feeling that, that's a very common thing.
Yeah,
that is a very common thing. I mean, you probably found that after talking to people.
Well, yeah, and most of my, what was really surprising was I thought I was writing a book that women would be an audience for, but I don't really know how to reach women. It's really hard to reach them. I don't have a platform, but I do have a platform through Instagram to reach men. So
that's
like 70% of my followers are actually male. And so a lot of men read my book, and what makes me so happy is that they also totally identify with it. I mean, I don't think they totally, okay, I take that back. I don't think they totally identify. I think it's like they're really excited about it, like peeling back the curtains on a woman's way of thinking.
They like to see your perspective.
But they also identify a lot themselves with the disappointment, loneliness, rejection, frustration, and I think there are a lot of men that have their own female version of Nathan. Like everyone relates to the first chapter. Like when I first wrote it and it was in draft form, I would just read it to anyone who would listen. So I read the first chapter in an Uber, where I was alone in the backseat.
You read it to the Uber?
Well, it was actually an Uber pool.
Oh, okay. So there were other people in
it. So there might have been someone else in the backseat with me, but I think I was in the back, and then there was another passenger in the front and the Uber driver. And I was like, gee, you guys, I'm writing a book. Do you want to hear the first chapter? Because it's really short, and we had time. So they were like, sure. So I read it to them, and they were just like, wow, that's so touching. Like, I totally know how that feels. And I was like, awesome. Okay, good. Yeah. If two random strangers in an Uber can like my book, I'm pretty sure a lot of people like my book.
Will like it. Yeah. No, it definitely is. And I mean, yes, I thought about women, but yes, I guess men. Yeah, men too. That's interesting. That's 70%. It's a really interesting statistic. What? Let me see. I have some notes. I'm going to look through my notes.
Okay.
I'm going through here to see what I wrote.
I am sweating.
Are you hot? Or are you nervous?
No, I'm just really hot because before we started, this, I had to move the furniture around so we'd be facing the light. So it was quite a workout.
I love your spreadsheet. I thought that was hysterical. I had marked this in your spreadsheet. Do you still? I mean, I guess you have it.
I still have the spreadsheet, but I'm not trying to date as much anymore. I'm really tired of it. My next blog post is going to be called "I'm so done with dating," which I really need to work on today. And then it got confusing because I would meet a lot of readers, like either blog readers or book readers.
People that knew you already.
Well, they didn't know me. They didn't know me personally, but they knew your blog. They read my blog or they read my book, and so that's who I started meeting because they would ask to meet me, and of course, like I'd love to meet them.
Yeah.
But in those situations, oftentimes I didn't even know what they look like. Like I didn't see them on a dating app. So I kind of dropped off with the spreadsheet because I got lazy. But I also didn't. It was confusing because I was like, should I count these as dates? I'm meeting men off of an app, because they're finding me on Instagram or maybe sometimes on dating apps. But So yeah, the spreadsheet has declined. I probably should go back and figure out how many more people I've met.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I guess I should have probably said, tell me a little. I mean, because not everybody know about the spreadsheet.
Yeah. So for the people that don't know about my spreadsheet, when I became single, I was 41, and I'd always been in relationships, and it had always been very easy to find a boyfriend. And the last time I was single, I was 34, and I thought, well, it's probably going to be a lot harder now that I'm older and I'm less desirable, and my span of age that I can look in is small.
Desirable.
Well, I am definitely less desirable to the people that I was dating before. You know, no 25-year-old is going to be, they'll want to meet me, and do other things with me, but they're not going to want to be my boyfriend.
That are out there, I know.
So my span of desirability is much shorter. So I thought, okay, it's going to probably take me a long time to find someone. I want to see how many guys I have to meet before I find another boyfriend. And so I thought I'll just keep a spreadsheet so I can keep track. So the spreadsheet just has, their name, what we did. There's different columns. I'll go into it if you ask.
How many times you went out, and then if
how
it
many
was
times
like
we went out.
Second date, you have a percentage of how many. What's the word?
How many first dates converted to second and third and fourth?
Dates.
Yeah, so
Which
it's very mathematical.
interesting.
I have all my data.
Did you ever read that book, Data, A Love Story?
No, I haven't.
About the woman who, she's like, what is it called? It's called Data, A Love Story, How I Cracked the Online Dating and Met My Match.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It was interesting. I mean, it was okay. I read it, and because my mother made me read it. She's like, you're dating online, so she was all nervous about it. So she said, you need to read this. I mean, I don't think it pertains to everybody. It was just kind of interesting about all the algorithms and everything, which I don't think are particularly, algorithms are not the same as the chemistry in person. I mean, I think you really have to be with someone. Mm-hmm. You can swipe all you want, but until you meet them.
Yeah,
right?
and it's hard because a lot of people, they really want to, start to foster a relationship through messaging. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to message you. First of all, I'm going to forget everything that you said to me because a lot of people message me. So I'm not going to remember, first of all. And second of all, if we have a lot of chemistry on messaging, but we meet in real life, we don't like each other, my expectations are really high. And then it's disappointing for, either me or both of us or however, or, if he doesn't like me, then. So I like to keep messaging to a minimum. But then there's men on dating apps that think that that's really weird, and they're like, well, that you don't want to message. I'm just like, let's just put a date on the calendar and we'll meet.
Get together, right?
Yeah, and they're like, I'm not going to meet a stranger.
They're like that.
And I'm like,
I'm the woman. I'm the one that has to be more careful.
How do you think people used to meet? If you meet someone at a bar, they're a stranger before you start talking to them. So
that's what.
Yeah, I could go on and on.
I know, and then that's what. When I first started doing this, the online dating, I was nervous, think the same thing, and I would not give out my cell phone number until I met the person. Mm-hmm. So I know what, as a woman, it's different, but now it's just like you chat a little bit, and there's no point chatting for days and days and days and days and days,
like
which
meet.
Some people do, and
and also sometimes people are lonely and they don't really want to meet you. They really just want someone to talk to, and I used to really like that because sometimes I would just want to have a great conversation with someone that maybe I wasn't interested in actually meeting. So maybe we didn't live near each other or whatever. So
right.
So sometimes it helps in a way to keep you not lonely, but on the other hand, if you actively are looking to meet someone, just meet them. And also, you said about giving your phone number. Yes. This is my biggest pet peeve.
What is that?
When people ask me for my number. They're like, can I have your number so I can text you? And I'm like, you're already texting me. Why do you need my phone number? Let's just keep the conversation where it is. Otherwise, I'm going to even have a harder time remembering anything that we talked about. Don't make me switch platforms.
And then you just do the number after you meet.
Well, no, but why do we have...
switching.
The only reason people need numbers now is if you don't have Wi-Fi or data. Because otherwise, I can call you on Instagram. Yeah. We can video chat on Instagram. We can video chat on Facebook. Why do we need phone numbers?
That makes sense. Yeah, no, I know. That makes sense. Wanted to ask you, okay, so what was I? Sorry, see, I know I didn't even know what I wrote. I can't read what I wrote, Jennifer. That was really terrible.
Do you want me to try to read it for you?
Oh no, that's a note about something else. I was reading all about your art because you spent time in Argentina, and you had written about some of these labels of clothing, and they sounded interesting. So I wrote that down. I wanted to check them out. So that's not really important to this discussion. Sorry, that was a personal side note. Okay. Anyway, the rest of it. Okay. Well, let me see what else. I have so many questions. I got sidetracked. So you write about on your blog and in here your experiences. Online dating in general, it's obviously very different from meeting someone in person, and it's very difficult to meet someone in person, I think. I mean, you would agree or no?
Well, especially for me, because I don't drink, and I don't even drink soda or coffee. So for me, like sometimes like last night, I had no plans, and I was just by myself. I was working my blog, so I was being productive, but I was just, I was home all day, and I was just like, man, it'd be so nice to go out and sit at a bar and just talk to someone. But what am I going to do at the bar? Like, all I would order was water. No, I don't even like club soda. Like, I just want water. So it's really hard to meet people in real life because I don't have a wing man really, or a wing woman, and like, where am I going to go to meet someone? You know?
I know. It's
if
hard
you're not a drinker, it's really
hard for everybody. But I think online dating also changed the way people interact, like the whole ghosting thing. And I mean, I know that, before all of this, if you went out with somebody, they could have just ignored your phone calls, same thing. But it seems to be to me, and you can tell me if you think this, I think it's much easier for people to blow people off today than it would have been normally. I don't know if that's true, but because it's so impersonal. I mean, you may not even meet somebody and suddenly they're unmatched or they're gone.
Yeah.
And maybe it's easier to do that. It's easier for people to treat other people in not a great way because it's through the tech, and it's not in real life. So
I think so. I mean, I know for myself, I try to, well, first of all, ever since I started my blog, people are much nicer to me. So I think they're all afraid of me to write bad things about them. But so my experience in dating has really improved since my blog because I'm like a public person now. So people, I think, learn better behavior, but also I will only go out with people that have read me because then I know that they already know me and they already like me and they already, even if it's just as a friend, like they see me as like an actual person. I think the roles have reversed because I used to try to respond to every single person and not be anyone's bad experience, but now it's really hard to respond to people a lot of times, and if I'm not really into a conversation, I'll drop off, and I can't get back to it because I have a lot of people that contact me. So I know that, and I've been thinking about how can I write this in my blog or something. Like, I know I've become other people's bad experience. And it's usually not really personal, it's just like I'm busy. And luckily a lot of people are really understanding, and this is a tip. If you like someone and you're interested in talking to them and they haven't responded back to you, just follow up. Because a lot of times
people just get busy.
I'll like miss the message, or I won't have seen it, or I was busy, and it didn't mean I didn't want to respond. It just like totally flew off my radar. And I'm so grateful when it's a nice person who does follow up with me. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So yeah,
that's good, and that's good to know. I know people are afraid to take risks sometimes. I think they get nervous about, maybe they don't really want to see me, so I'm not going to do that. But that's a good thing. That's a good point for people. But
I would never ignore someone I met in person ever. Like, that is, unless they became a crazy stalker, and then I had to like tell them I'm going to ignore you because you're crazy. But I wouldn't do that, and I don't know how people can do that. I just don't know how people can be so unkind and just
they could at least say,
I'm not interested.
Chemistry, I'm not interested.
That's it.
And that's respectful. And
I think people want to avoid hurting someone's feelings, and one of the points that I try to make in my blog and in my book is that you don't control your feelings. So nobody should be offended if someone doesn't like them. You don't choose who you like. So if you don't like someone, just tell them, I don't feel the chemistry that I want to feel, and I wish you the best. And you'll save them a lot of heartache and confusion.
Yeah, yeah. So you could probably be a dating expert. I mean, it sounds like, you know, blogging this. So how many guys, can I ask this? How many guys have you been on dates with? Do you
Oh my
know?
gosh, I'm
I
not
know you have your
prepared for this.
spreadsheet. I know, and I should
I'm
have
not
thought
prepared.
about it.
I mean, it's
You don't
over
have to
100.
answer.
It's over. I mean, it's probably like around like 120 or something.
Like in the 3 years, 4 years? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have your worst story. Is that the one that's in the book?
Yeah. Well, no, actually,
Or
I
you
have
have
a
a worse
worse
one,
story,
yeah.
but I didn't put it in the book because there wasn't much to the story. But it's not in the book. But I went out with this guy, and he was so mean. He was really mean to me.
Really?
That I had to leave the date like crying.
Really? What did
He just said some really mean comments, and then afterwards, he texted me and told me that he lied about his age, and that he was really younger than he said he was, and he told me, you should consider getting the mole on your face removed. It's very distracting.
He did?
Yes.
What a jerk.
I know,
Oh,
and I'm just like,
oh my God. What?
That was someone that I blocked, because that was, I think he was a psychopath. Because I knew before I met him that I didn't have a good feeling, and you always have to listen to your gut. I just knew, and then I met him, and he was awful.
Really?
I think he was like, I always believe people are good and they are good at heart, but I've actually met someone that I think
It's not good.
that doesn't have any empathy and qualifies as a psychopath.
Yeah.
Not that he was like a murderer, but
Right. But he does not sound like. He does not sound like a good person.
Yeah. So that part's not in the book because the story's too short.
It's too short to be in the book, but the other one was good too.
Yeah.
And it was a good. I mean, that wasn't a good thing, but it was the people that are out there.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because Facebook keeps suggesting this guy to me. So there's my worst date story. Well, my second worst date story is in my book, and you'll have to read it. I don't want to give it away.
Have to read it.
But Facebook keeps showing him to me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so strange. Is he connected to people you know somehow?
I don't think so. Maybe because I have his phone number.
Personal Facebook.
I might have his phone number in my phone, and maybe that's how Facebook
maybe
picks it up. I don't know. It's really weird.
Unless he's following the
yeah, I don't
Facebook
think so because
Backseat.
I doubt it. I don't think he even remembers who I am. Probably.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, but yeah, I see.
If he does remember, you are not a nice person.
Yeah, maybe he'll. Hopefully he'll learn by now.
So what are you doing now with your life? Your work full time?
Yeah, I work full time. I have like 4 full-time jobs. So
Really?
I work full time.
Uh-huh.
I work on Instagram and my blog, which
That's
are also full-time jobs.
Those are also, yep, I know that.
What was the third one? Oh, trying to market my book, which kind of rolls into Instagram and my blog. And my 4th full-time job is being awesome.
That takes a lot of
time.
Probably not a lot of time. You're already awesome, so maybe just a little time.
It occupies all my time. So yeah, so I do have a real job, and I like it, but I definitely would like my book to get more exposure and to do more things like this.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's doing well. You've done well. You have a ton of reviews on Amazon, right?
Yeah,
which is a good thing. The more reviews you get on Amazon, it really helps move your book up in the rankings, which is important.
And I'm very, very grateful for every review I get, and yeah, it's really nice when people take the time to do that.
And I'm going to do that. I hadn't done it yet. I just reread it. I read it whenever it was that we actually, how we met, we just ran into each other. I forgot what I was doing.
Well, you're part of so Bella's part of my friends collection, a person that I meet in the most random way. And I collected her, and now, but we haven't seen each other since.
Then, which was almost last fall?
Yeah.
No. It was maybe January, February.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember, but your book was already, was it already out? I can't remember. Yeah, it must have been.
I think it might, it was already out, but she bought my book, and now we're finally seeing each other again, but we need to do this more.
I know, but this is great. I have been wanting to meet with you for such a long time because like I said, I love the book. And I got up at 2:30 in the morning and read it again.
Oh my God.
This morning because I wanted to take more notes. I didn't take notes when I read it, and I wanted to take notes this time. And I think it's amazing. It's great. It's great, and
Thank
you really it's honest, which is amazing. It's great for you to be. I mean, you're just out there. You put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would not do that, and I think it's I love reading that. That you share yourself like that, and you're.
Well, I wanted to write my book the same way I would talk to my friends, and a lot of people. And one of the best compliments I've gotten on my book is people tell me, they feel like they're my friend after they read it, and they know me.
I feel like I know you exactly.
Yeah, and that is what I wanted, and so it's very honest. It's very straightforward, and I do talk a lot about some very personal things that I never intended my parents to read or know. But I had to not let that stop me. I had to not worry about what my parents or relatives or anyone like that would think. I thought, if Amy Schumer can do it and Chelsea Handler can do it, I can do it. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm putting out my story the way that it should be written. So that's what I did.
And I should have asked you in the beginning, but the title, Alone in the Backseat, I should have asked you that in the beginning, but I know a lot of people might already know why it's on your blog, but why the title Alone in the Backseat?
We should turn it this way so
so
people can see it. So the title stems from the fact that growing up, I'm an only child, and growing up, I was alone in the backseat of my parents' car, and I always, ever since I was little, I wanted a traditional life, like a husband and kids, and so I would have my imaginary husband would be in the backseat with me in the car. And when I grew up, and my real husband oftentimes wouldn't come to Maine with me to visit my parents, I realized, I'm still always alone in the back seat. And my husband, or after my husband, my boyfriend wasn't there, and I'm just like, or my parents come and visit, and I'm single, and they're driving around, and I'm still I'm always alone in the back seat. And so, but after I got separated from my ex-husband, my friends picked me up to go out to dinner with them. They were a married couple, friends of ours. So they were the husband was driving, the wife was in the passenger seat, and of course I was in the back seat. And this was probably 10 years ago. And I thought, man, I am always alone in the back seat. If I ever write a book, that's going to be the title.
That's going to be the title.
And so that was so long ago, but I never forgot the title.
But you always had it there. It's a great title.
And it's just the manifestation of the fact that nothing worked out as I had thought. And it's really interesting. People always are like, well, are you going to write a second book? What's your second book going to be? And they're like, you should be in the passenger seat, or you should be in the driver's seat.
I was going to say, you should be the driver. But
you know what? You know where I want to be? I decided I like being alone in the back seat.
Okay.
But I want it to be a limo.
A limo.
Yes. I want my book to sell a lot of copies, and then I have to be driven around in a limo, and I can be alone in the back seat.
Driving Miss Jennifer.
Doing my thing.
Do you remember the movie Driving Miss Daisy? Driving Miss Jennifer. I think that's great. Well, I think it's a great book, and I think you did a wonderful job.
Well, thank you so
for
much.
Putting yourself out there and for letting people know your life experience, which I think is amazing, by the way. And I don't think it's done by any means. I really don't.
Oh,
a lot. You have
thank
a lot,
you so much,
coming
Bella.
up. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. And
well, thank you for coming.
Oh, yes. Thank you for coming. I'm the one who came. But thank you for talking to me. And,
my pleasure.
Doing this great video, which I didn't look very much there, but I'm used to doing the verbal part, so I'm not used to doing that much. But thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if I hope everybody enjoyed this interview.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I can't wait to see who watched. And I will be posting more stories soon. Okay, I don't know how to end this. How do I stop and end? Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so am I